Hello, welcome back to Bioclass Bites. In this video, we are going to talk about high-impact solutions to climate change. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like and share this video. In the previous video, in which we talked about climate change as a challenge to ethical action, we ended with this question: can anything be done to solve this crisis? Hopefully, as we go through our video today, we will be able to answer that question. So before anything else, let me present to you BioClass Bites Real Life, Real World Earth Saving Tips. The first tip is to support green political parties. So green politics is a political ideology that actually aims to support environmentalism, nonviolence, social justice, and other related causes. They are mostly concerned with conservation of the environment and peace movements and to actually counter the effects of the capitalist system. So they are mostly about ecology, green politics, and anti-globalization movements. They would like to remove the causes of social exclusion, poverty, and war. So I recommend that you support green politicians or green political parties with long-standing record of policies and movements that actually appeal to ecological wisdom, decentralization, respect for biodiversity, global responsibility, and participatory democracy. I would also recommend that you really look into the policies that are being proposed by a certain political candidate and make sure that all economic progress will not in any way negatively affect the environment of that country and its biodiversity. Second tip is to take advantage of natural light, specifically for those rooms which do not have air conditioned units. So for example, this is our living room. We made sure that our windows and doors and its screens actually let in as much natural light as possible so that we will use less electricity in lighting the room. So in our own home, we turn on the lights as late as 6 o'clock p.m. So it means that all throughout the morning, all throughout the afternoon, we have enough natural light to allow us to see what we're doing inside the living room. So for example, if you have your own homes in the future, you can actually look into the construction or renovation of your house to take advantage of natural light in order to consume less electricity. By the way, this is our dog, our 4-year-old Doberman Saber. So she's part of the picture as well. Next is to insulate air-conditioned rooms. So these are the two windows of our bedroom. We decided to completely shut the windows and from the outside to seal all the possible areas wherein hot air could leak into the cold room when the air conditioning unit is turned on. We also decided to put an insulating material between the window and the screen, again, so as to prevent less heat entering the air-conditioned room. We're also planning to put thick curtains here, again, also to prevent less heat entering the room when it's already cold. We also recommend that you wash the filter or clean the filter of your air conditioning unit weekly or so that it will be able to perform its function more efficiently and it will last longer and then consume less electricity as it performs its functions. Next is to be mindful of clothing choices. Now, these are all the clothes I own and all the pairs of shoes I have. Well, actually, that's not correct. These are the only clothes I own. So if you push it to one side, I actually have just a fewer clothes, okay? And then these are also part of my um, closet. Now, these are the only pairs of shoes that I have. Now, whenever picking out new clothes, I consider the type of fabric. I would choose the ones that will not require me to iron them, so that I will not have to consume electricity just to wear those articles of clothing. Whenever I have to iron, I schedule it either every other week or just twice a month. Okay, just in case there are 5 weeks in a month. Um, so that of course I will not consume that much electricity. I also make it a point to be very careful whenever I wash clothes, even if I'm using an automatic washing machine. I put the delicate ones in net bags to protect them and to make them last longer. I also mend clothes before washing them so that any rips will not enlarge during the washing process. So I'm actually very careful of my clothes, and some of the dresses here that I have been with me for 5 years already. I have blouses that have been with me for 10 years already. I have pants that have been with me for more than a decade. So clothes last a long time because I take care of them. I mend any rips. I schedule the ironing of them, and then I choose the kind of fabric that I will purchase. Now, when it comes to shoes, I will be the first one to accept, no, that these are not really fashionable shoes, and that's a deliberate choice. I really make it a point to only purchase the type of shoes that will last a long time. I'm not really into fashionable shoes because, I know that eventually that fashion will go out. So I would rather go for the sturdy material for the construction of the shoes so that they will last a long time. So in that way, I will not consume any more of those raw materials. And then, of course, that could help. Eventually, in my own simple way, I could also lessen my carbon footprint, of course. So again, be mindful of clothing choices in such a way that choose the type of fabric that will not require you ironing them before you can wear them. Schedule your ironing sessions. Take care of your clothes. Wash them properly. Mend any rips so that the clothes will last a long time so that you will not have to purchase anymore. And then when it comes to footwear, do not go for fashionable footwear that will eventually go out of style. Choose sturdy materials that will last a long time. I would also recommend that you watch this episode from Patriot Act with Hassan Minaj from Netflix entitled The Ugly Truth of Fast Fashion. Now, actually, if you see me in person, you will notice that I'm not really into fashionable clothing. I'm more into reasonable clothing or reasonable articles of clothing because I know the impact of fast fashion in the environment, and that's actually what this episode will discuss. Why it's called fast fashion, why is it created so fast, and why does it not last very long, and the amount of waste generated just to satisfy the demand for fashionable clothing. And you will all learn that in this video from Hassan Minaj. Okay, so I'll provide the link in the description below. This one also from Our Changing Climate is fast fashion destroying our environment. So mostly they talk about the same things, and I hope now that after watching these two videos, you will agree with me that it is not really good for the environment. It's not good for the environment to follow fashion trends just to look, fashionable, but to rather be conscious of our clothing choices that will have less impact in the environment. So again, no, when you see me in person, you will notice I'm not very fashionable, and that's by deliberate choice. I'm very particular with the clothes I wear. I take care of them. I'm not into fashion, again, to limit um, my impact in the environment. So again, links in the description below. Another reason why I'm not into luxury fashion items is because I'm aware of animal cruelty in the fashion industry. A simple Google search will bring you a lot of results, and then you can look into that. Now, from this video from PETA, or People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, they had this investigation on reptiles being killed for their skin, and this is entitled Belly of the Beast. Now, this is actually a gruesome video, so if you have the stomach for it, you can watch it and see how young crocodiles are killed and skinned just so they could be made into luxury bags, luxury wallets, and watch bands. Okay, so you could look into the details from the video, and then I'll provide the link in the description below. Then after all those alligator skins have been harvested, they are then made into purses and bags and wallets. Then you can watch this video from how it's made and see how they do it. So again, no, this is the reason why we keep on saying we have to be mindful of our fashion choices. Yes, they look good, they look expensive, they could raise your status, but at what cost? Okay? These are living creatures, these are living animals, and then you're wearing them on your wrist, in your watch, on your belt, on your shoes, carrying a purse or holding your wallet. I'm not entirely sure if that's the good way a good way for us to proceed, no. And then they are actually justifying that that's the reason why they're expensive, because they are made from living organisms. I don't know. Again, this is one of the reasons why you will rarely see me wearing luxury items. Okay, I would just choose, not so expensive items, not so expensive bags, because I would rather use those type of bags than go into this um luxury industry wherein animals are killed for their skin to be made into clothing, accessories. So again, if you're interested, if you have the stomach for it, I'll provide the links in the description below. Next is to collect and reuse water. Now, this is our laundry area. We deliberately designed it that our washing machine will stay indoors so that we could collect the water after every cycle. Okay, so that's the reason why we have this mop bucket, so that I could collect all the water after every rinse, and then I could use that water to mop the house. Sometimes I could use the soapy water to wash bags, to wash shoes, or to wash our rags around the house. So we could use and recycle water. And we also collect water to the soapy water or the good smelling water, and then wash our front yard with it, to save water and soap. So you can actually design your home in such a way that could allow you to collect and reuse water. Next is to use energy-saving appliances. So these are values taken from Meralco's appliance calculator. So you can see here the comparison between non-inverter and inverter appliances. So for non-inverter, they could actually use more electricity and consume and have more higher bill at the end of the month than those inverters. So as you can see here, from 170, a two-door refrigerator only uses 144 wattage. And from 753 consumption for a non-inverter refrigerator, you'll only be paying 474 for inverter refrigerator. Same with an air conditioner non-inverter, 3,798 pesos per month, as it consumed 1,500 watts, while a split type inverter only consumes 1,100, and you only have to pay 1,824 pesos. So same with other listed appliances. So yes, when you purchase these appliances, they're quite more expensive. They're quite more expensive than non-inverter types, but in the long run, they will use less electricity. Then you will also have to pay less in your electric bill every month. So use energy-saving appliances in your home. Next is to use fuel-efficient cars. So if you ever grow up and then happen to have to purchase your own cars, I recommend that you purchase fuel-efficient cars because they use less greenhouse gases. They emit less air pollutants. You get better mileage for less money, and they also increases energy sustainability. So fuel-efficient cars cut back on their oil consumption, and then it allows the car to function just as well without using too much fossil fuels. According to this article from The Guardian entitled "Tree Planting Has Mind-Blowing Potential to Tackle Climate Change," research shows that planting trees could actually be the cheapest and biggest way to tackle the climate crisis, according to scientists. Okay, so their first calculation was that planting as many as 1 trillion trees could be enough to capture huge amount of carbon dioxide. That's why Greta Thunberg said that we are ignoring natural climate solutions. If you want to read this article, you can find it in the description below. Now, this video is between Greta Thunberg and George Monbiot. They made a short film about climate change. And if you're interested, you can watch this, and I'll provide the link in the description below. So basically, this is actually from Guardian News. Basically, planting trees could really help us save our planet when it comes to climate change crisis. Now, this video is from TED-Ed entitled, What if there were 1 trillion more trees? Again, they're talking about the same thing, natural climate change solutions. You can watch it with the link in the description below. Now, this graph is from Our World in Data. It shows us the global greenhouse gas emission scenarios or potential future emissions pathway of global greenhouse gas emissions. So right now, we are around here. We are secreting 40 gigatons of carbon dioxide emissions into the atmosphere. Now, with our current policies, okay, it's projected that the temperature could still rise by 3.1 to 3.7 degrees Celsius of the current policies that we have, okay, in each country. Now, for those countries with no climate policies, it is expected that temperature could rise between 4.1 to 4 degrees Celsius. So, 4.1 degrees hotter than what we have right now. So far, with countries pledging to Paris Agreement, okay, pledges with Paris Agreement, okay, it is expected that in the near future, 2060, 2080, eventually, we could reduce that possible increase in temperature into just 2.6 or 3.2 degrees Celsius increase in temperature. Now, what we want are not these scenarios. What we want are this by reducing into 2 degrees Celsius or 1.5 degrees Celsius consistent pathways. So this is what we want, okay? As much as possible to minimize the increase of temperature at global level by 2 degrees or just by 1 degrees Celsius. Okay, so the high, median, and low pathway represent ranges for a given scenario. The temperature figures represent the estimated average global temperature increase from pre-industrial by 2100. So this is the goal. Okay, this is what we want, to actually return our temperature lower than what we have right now, okay, to pre-industrial stage or pre-industrial global climate temperature. So the pledges that we have right now may not be enough. The current policies may not be enough. Having no climate policies is definitely not good. They could still increase our temperature in the future by 2100. What we want are actions that will actually reduce the temperature lower than what we have right now into pre-industrial levels. You can check this out from Our World in Data, linked in the description below. Now, this is one aspect that we can look into, one major cause of climate change, and that is consumerism. Now, in this article for Grist by Suzanne Jacobs, you can read it if you want, entitled Consumerism Plays a Huge Role in Climate Change. This whole idea that consumerism, or our need to constantly purchase new and new products, new and new materials, new and new accessories, new and new clothes, are actually driving forces of climate change. We are constantly bombarded by this in social media of all those glamorous closets full of clothes, full of bags, of constantly feeding more than what one needs to consume in a day or one needs to consume in a meal, constantly shopping, constantly hauling clothes. We are constantly bombarded with collections of cars and gas emitting modes of transportation. It's all around us, and we think that this is okay. We think that this is normal. We think that this is something we should aspire for. Not knowing that all of these consumerism practices are driving forces of climate change. In this article in the New Republic by Emily Atkin, again, climate change is the symptom, consumer culture is the disease. It shows us that our never-ending need to purchase new stuff is actually causing the climate to be as drastic as it is right now. Okay, all the links are in the description below. Now, this one is a research done by Diana Ivanova and the rest of her research team, published in the Journal of Industrial Ecology entitled Environmental Impact Assessment of Household Consumption. They say that we all like to put the blame on someone else, the government or businesses. But between 60 to 80% of the impacts on planet came from household consumption, household things that we buy. If we change our consumption habits, this will have a drastic effect on our environmental footprint as well. So that includes everything that I've mentioned a while ago: household consumption, in appliances, in water usage, in clothes that we buy, okay, in clothes that we buy, in how we design our homes, in how we utilize natural light. All of this could have huge impact on climate change because again, 60 to 80% of those impacts came from household consumption. Now, this is from C40 cities. This is a group of 96 cities that are actively combating climate change. So, according to them, individual consumers cannot change the way the global economy operates on their own. But many of the interventions proposed in this report rely on individual action. It is ultimately up to individuals, to us, to decide what type of food to eat and how to manage their shopping to avoid household food waste. It is also largely up to individuals to decide how many new items of clothing to buy, whether they should own or drive a private car, and how many personal flights to take. Again, individual consumers, each one of us may not be able to totally turn the tide against climate change. But together, if we just manage to look into how we consume, into how we purchase, in what type of food to eat, in how to manage our shopping, and how to manage our lives, together, all of us, if all of us become educated on such matter, all of us collectively, we could be strong enough to actually combat climate change and to win the crisis on climate change. Now, if you want to learn more about this on how our small choices can be changed and can have a big effect on climate change, you can visit this playlist from Our Changing Climate. I'll provide the link in the description below. Same with this report from C40 Cities. Now, from the Guardian, for a simple student as you, such as you, for a student like you, how can you really participate in fighting climate change or helping us to win over climate change? So this article could help you with that. But these are the major points that they want to say to you. You could revise, reuse, or recycle. Okay, so how to be a sustainable student. So first, in terms of eating, we can all opt to eat meat free or to consume less meat. Because again, no, meat comes from pigs and cows, from other poultry animals, and then they have to be raised in a ranch. Now they have to be raised there, and they also give off methane as part of their life processes. So that also adds up to greenhouse gases. Forests have to be cleared for ranching areas or for pasturing areas. So consuming less meat means that less animals will be raised. So again, that could help. Going plastic free as well, we all know that. In terms of dressing, again, we go back to this. Forget fast fashion. Choose clothes that can last you a long time. Choose fabrics that will not have to be ironed. Recycle your clothes and then mend your clothes as much as you can. You can recycle them in such a way that, if you do not want to wear your dress with sleeves, you can turn it into a sleeveless dress, and then that's a new piece of clothing for you instead of buying a whole new dress. In terms of campaigning, again, be educated, be involved, vote for green political parties with long-standing record of environmental efforts. In terms of living, green choices. Again, if you have to purchase a car, fuel-efficient cars, and then cut out flying. Okay? Um, Local and domestic flights are just one of many contributors to greenhouse gases. If you want to read this article, how to be a sustainable student, I'll provide the link in the description below. Since we've mentioned flights, another topic that triggers me a lot would be tourism. And a simple search on negative environmental impacts of tourism will give you a lot of information. And then as to why, tourism is not really something that could help our environment. I'm also on a personal note, by principle, I'm not supportive of zoos, ocean parks, um, those establishments that allows you to take photos with animals, okay, sedated animals or whatever. I'm not into safaris, I'm not into hunting, especially trophy hunting. So all of those are my personal stand on such matter. But overall, you can find a lot of information about negative environmental impacts of tourism. Now, this video from Vox, it shows you what happens when nature goes viral. It's just one of those many examples that support my claim about tourism, about flights and overcrowding, and what could happen to natural resources when a lot of people decided to visit it, and then hopefully I could convince you on such matter. Again, we are always bombarded with ideas that travel goals is what we should aim for, that we should all be able to travel the world, and then that saying that triggers me a lot, that if you do not travel, you only read one page of the book or something like that, which is actually a misconstrued quote from its original source. Traveling and tourism really negatively impacts a particular environment, and this video is just one examples of that. Okay? One example of that. Then you can research on your own, and then hopefully you can find you can find information on your own. Now, this is from physics.org. Most effective individual steps to tackle climate change. And these are the ones that aren't being discussed. Linked in the description below. So for low impact solutions, that includes upgrading light bulbs. For moderate impact, that's hanging dry clothes, recycling, washing clothes in cold water, and replacing typical car with hybrid. But what we want are high impact solutions to climate change, and that will be the following: having a plant-based diet as much as possible, consuming less meat or going vegetarian if you can. It could actually have greater impact than the rest of the one previously mentioned. Switching to electric car or going car free or buying green energy or fuel efficient appliances or fuel efficient cars could actually um, help in terms of um, climate savings or reducing carbon dioxide emissions. And then avoiding one transatlantic flight or avoiding international flights or traveling internationally could have higher impact, because again, all those airplanes, all of those flights are actually high contributors to greenhouse gases. Living car free as much as possible. And then finally, one with the highest impact, high impact solutions to climate change. The highest one would be having one fewer child. If you're planning to have 3 kids, then having just 2 kids will have greater impact in terms of combating climate change. Or if you're planning to have 5 kids, just having four could have higher impact overall. Because again, just having that one less of a person in the world population that will consume raw materials, that will use less fossil fuels, that will consume less of those clothing and food and everything. So altogether could have the highest impact when it comes to fighting climate change. So again, for high impact solutions, eat plant-based diet, switching to electric car, avoiding transatlantic or international flights, living car-free as much as possible, and then having one fewer child. Now, in terms of our country, okay, the Philippines actually has a lowering fertility rate as reported by NEDA. Okay, from this GMA news, our country has a lowered fertility rate as an effect of the reproductive health bill being passed, and more women are having better access, more and more families and couples having access to family planning methods. So if you want to watch this news clip, linked in the description below. Now, the Philippines is said to be undergoing its demographic transition, specifically between stages 2 and 3. Then, if you want to learn more about demographic transition, you can search on it on Google. And then this has already been tackled also in grade 11 under interaction and interdependent. dependence, and you can actually check it out in the um, playlist in the online library, or even in this Bioclass Bytes playlist. So again, look into demographic transition. Now, for this video is from Kurgizast. Is it too late to stop climate change? It's a bit complicated, and this is what this whole uh, video playlist is all about. Why climate change is actually a challenge to ethical action. Why climate change and all the policies concerning it are actually ethical problems in its essence. So watch this video to be more educated on such matter. Link in the description below. Now, this one is a playlist from TED Ed on our changing climate. You can all watch all related videos to climate change. Again, linked in the description below. Now, this one is a recent movement from TED. Their Get Informed, a climate starter kit. So all the information needed about climate change, some of this have already been included in this unit, in this lesson, in the previous videos that we've tackled. But if you're interested, again, linked in the description below. Now, at national level, is it possible to actually go and implement all those climate change policies or environmentally friendly policies? Is it possible to go carbon neutral? Yes, it is. And this one is a TED Talk by Chering Tobgay from Bhutan. This is entitled, "This country isn't just carbon neutral, it's carbon negative." And here in this video, he talks about how Bhutan, in all its national efforts, were able to achieve just that. How in their small country were they able to achieve their goal of becoming carbon neutral, and not just carbon neutral, but being a carbon negative country. So if you're interested how we're able to do that, link in the description below. Now this one, okay, still from the same speaker, Chering Tobgay. Now he is calling for an urgent call to protect the third world pole. Okay, so watch this video and see a more alarming information and still more hopeful national policies that we can employ to combat climate change. Linked in the description below. Now we reach the end of this video and even the end of this playlist. So after knowing everything that we have discussed, from the observable effects of climate change to the scientific consensus on the causes and solutions to climate change being a challenge to ethical action, and to what we've discussed previously in this video, high impact solutions to climate change. So real talk, what will you do now? What will you student who is watching this video right now, what will you do now? To help you think about it, let me share with you this quote from one of my favorite characters in Game of Thrones, Daenerys Targaryen. In this scene, she was talking to Yara Greyjoy, and then she said, "They left," referring to their fathers. "They left the world worse than they found it. We are not going to do that. We are going to leave it better than we found it." The same thing was also said by this noted American writer and film director Paul Auster. He said, "To leave this world a little better than you found it. That's the best a man can ever do." Bill Nye also said something similar. Bill Nye is an American science communicator, TV presenter, and mechanical engineer. He said, "To leave this world a little better than you found it, sometimes you have to pick up other people's trash." But they are not the only ones who said it. Actually, the first person to say those words was Robert Baden-Powell, the first chief scout of the Boy Scout movement. He said, "Try to leave this world a little better than you found it. And when your turn comes to die, you can die happy in feeling that at any rate, you have not wasted your time, but have done your best." So to the question, what should you do now? I leave you these words. Just leave this world better than you found it. That ends our video. I hope you learned something new. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like and share this video. Till next time, goodbye.